learned that yesterday. The first 2 games can be snooze fest.
Don't be a two-game
as long as it turns around in game 3.
Please.
Right? That's what we need to get to. Thankfully, yesterday delivered, and maybe today can do the same thing. So we're not going to be counting any chickens before they hatch, but T1 will be on the blue side to start us off. The most fake stat that we have ever produced here in the LCK was just put up in the pre-show.
And that's Atlas. Atlas saying that.
I know. This was the red side win rate. And the red side was winning so much because teams kept losing to KT. And then they got to choose blue. That's the only reason the red side win rate is so incredibly high. T1 will still be able to use it very well.
We are in 2025 and Atlas is critiquing the statistics used in the LCK.
I mean, it's just funny how wrong it is.
I can't believe it. As Rumble, to me, is the standout pick here. If it doesn't get banned, that is 100% going to be the B1. Both Doran and Perfect have been having incredible performances on this. And there it is. Yeah, I'm not too shocked by this because it does limit you as T1 because you are going to have to pick one of the OPs, whereas KT will be able to get 2. Victor is still open, which is a pick we've seen Faker heavily gravitate towards. Xin Zhao is still open.
The Gwen.
Yeah, Gwen, Jace. Although we have seen Jace drop a little bit in prio in recent times. Sion is another.
Yeah, this is a dangerous ban. The Gwen being banned away when Sion's up just makes it kind of free here for Doran if he wants to pick it. A lot less that can handle the tank, and they are going to take that one away. Pretty obvious. And so, does Perfect have the Ambessa answer? I was going to say answer, but I was too busy thinking about Ambessa. Just almost said her instead. It has kind of worked on this patch.
There's a few lines of thoughts, right? You can go for Ornn and just handshake. And
what about the Nidalee?
Well, you can. Well, Nidalee I like as a pickup because Cuz can also play it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be opposed to that, and then it gives you a flex potential, gives you more time to think about what you want to play.
Oh my! They could even like Nidalee Renekton and then do something like do some Corki in the mid lane.
If you haven't been watching a lot of KT games, Peter is the best Nico in the LCK right now, right? And that is a statement I am very confident in. I think he stands alone in the amount of consistent engages we've seen him get. As this would be kind of a shocking turn of events, the Rise to just come out like that, blind for BDD. Although we do need to know, this is KT, and I know Keen is no longer on the roster, but Perfect has been stepping up. Could this be a Rise top? Could it be a flex? I'm leaning towards no, but I feel like otherwise the blind Rise this early in a fearless draft, I know he's strong, but it feels a little bit like a risk because the Victor is open.
Yep, Victor is just going to be snapped up here by Faker. We know T1 often just like to first pick it with the Sion up and available, no Trundle there, and no Gwen to answer. It's an understandable pickup, but picking the Victor as soon as they can makes a whole host of sense. As okay, a Nocturne being hovered here by Cuz, probably just going through what he's thinking about. The Jarvan has been his all-time favorite. At this point in time, we know that this guy is a vibes player. He's considering it, but instead it's just going to be a tank off. Here on the top side of the map, Bjorn will be locked in.
I actually like this. I think Kalista is certainly going to be banned by T1. I think Kalista Nico is a nightmare to play into. And for Cuz, there are still so many junglers up. Whereas this Ornn, I'm pretty sure is going to get banned if you don't have the opportunity to try and pick it up here. And then you can still go, like we've seen the Camille, for example, right? We've seen the Cho'Gath. I think those picks are okay, but in case of Camille, you're a bit more limited in what your draft does, and it does take time for it to get in line. In case of Cho'Gath, I don't think every team really plays around it nearly as well as I feel like it should be obvious when it comes to Cho. He's really not that complicated of a champion.
Yeah, he does hit, gets health back, and then eats.
And that Xayah is that Xayah ban is both obviously comfort for Guma, but also a dead giveaway that they're looking towards a Kalista here, right? Like they are for Kalista, feels like very obvious. Are they gonna ban Braum? Because that is one of the things that can really ruin an Ornn's day.
I think it has to be the Braum ban. Because I mean, Nico's already really good into the Braum, so maybe they're thinking they don't want to pick it up. That's why the Alistar ban comes in instead.
But we have seen teams be willing to sack lane, right, just to get the value.
I mean, Lucian Braum actually fits into the T1 composition really comfortably. Putting Victor on solo AP feels fine, right? He does so much AoE that it's still going to be okay. So one final ban to come through here for T1. What are they going to be getting rid of? Stockdarm's champion pool only being attacked a little bit here with that Kai'Sa being taken away. And the Varus will be gotten rid of. So Ezreal's up. Quite a few different things.
Kalista for me is the big one. And maybe they're opting towards a possible Poppy counter or a Poppy pick for carrier, because Poppy is still up. That is one of the picks that obviously does well into the Kalista, particularly when you're matched against her in lane. But even though Poppy is one of those champions that I do think is good against Kalista, trying to play the early levels into a Nico does not sound like a good time.
No, it really doesn't. I still kind of expect T1 to pick the Braum, even if it isn't necessarily going to happen as Gumayushi. This would be some vibes. Instead, goes back to the Corki, which we have seen picked into Kalista in the past. Not necessarily the most fun, and not as high value as a Draven that's able to actually cash in against her. Becomes pretty much unplayable from that point on, but a lot less variance in the Corki lock-in, even though bot lane Corki has fallen off a cliff.
And the Corki...
Oh my god.
That'd be something. The Corki, to me, is also trying to ensure that the Jarvan value is low, because I do think Cuz was actually looking towards that, and instead it's going to be the Elise to come out here, which I'm not super excited about. I feel like the prio on this pick has dropped off for a very good reason. Of course, it does fall within the Guma and carry out bot lane forte to try and play for lane as heavily. Is Cuz going to go towards that? To me, with the Corki, I do think the Jarvan loses a lot of value. There's still decent targets on the enemy team, but if this was a Senna, I think the Jarvan is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Because you have a guaranteed way to lock down the enemy AD carry. With the Corki, that's just never going to be the case. And Wukong actually has the reliable backline access, and the team fighting power here on both sides. Scary thing to behold.
It is absolutely ridiculous. The true tanks on the top side of the map, you could say that maybe the range is going to be a bit of a problem. That's why Victor has always done decently well into the Rise, and there's not really anything that can challenge what Faker is going to be able to produce here on the Rift. So that could be a difficulty here for KT, but I'm looking at a whole lot of cohesion here on KT Rolster's side, and they have engaged from just about everywhere.
For T1, I'm looking at the jungle support duo. The combination of Xin Zhao and Elise, I don't think is matched by anything that KT have, particularly in the first 6 levels. Once Wukong gets his ult, once Nico gets her ult, it's a bit more playmaking.
Yep.
But those early levels, if you take a bad skirmish, the amount of burst and CC that's available from those two is a big issue. For me, I need to see how this bot lane plays out. Whoever gets early prio there, I think has an opportunity to run away with the game, because both Elise and Nico want to be making plays.
Yep, and I just want to go back to that little pat on the back from Score Tomata there. Of course, teammates in the past have known each other for basically forever, so just really cool to see the camaraderie. Even though they are on opposite sides today, everyone's kind of friends here in the LCK, especially when most players have sort of played with each other, especially if you've been around the LCK for a long time.
Except us, we have a strictly professional relationship.
Oh, 100%.
You and me.
Yeah. No. That's
I just want to make that very clear.
Yeah, that sort of like goes without saying. And now I feel kind of uncomfortable that you brought up even the notion of that being
Well,
a thing.
I had to. I need there to be no uncertainty regarding this matter.
I mean, I'm anti-board games. I'm anti-Mario Kart.
Absolutely.
Yeah, not really into any
None
of that.
100%.
So we are going to be getting onto the Rift as soon as possible. I'm starting to feel the pings, as we might have a little bit of a delay getting on in, because of course things need to be perfect, right? And perfect is, unless you are perfect himself, it is a difficult thing to be at all times.
Yeah, we make the joke now, perfect is the top lane of KT. We don't have to make it for the rest of the day. Get it out of the way. But hopefully we'll be getting in soon. So many questions going in. I do think both these drafts have very obvious win conditions, right? If you can get your Kalista ahead, obviously is really big to play around. The late game range advantage for T1 is something that I think is a little bit mitigated by how good the engage is with Wukong and Ornn, which does help. Range advantage to me is really the biggest issue when you just don't have a way of actually hard forcing. And let's be real,
when you've got hard forcing in every lane,
it
should
helps
be more
a lot.
possible.
But some of the laning phases, I think for T1 in particular, have been a little bit shaky. And if bot lane starts falling behind, if we don't see Faker step up his performance, because this has been one of his weaker springs, go back last year, go back to the year before, his form in spring was actually crazy. It wasn't until summer in both years that we started to see some issues with the performance. But again, it's T1 in the best of 5.
Yeah. This is the problem. We have absolutely no gauge. We have no idea. It's been a long, long time that we've seen T1 take to the Rift. The last time it wasn't great, but that feels like months ago, years ago, eons ago. And that doesn't matter now. What matters now is how well you play today. Let's get onto the Rift.
하나, 둘, 셋. KT
Ooh, KT fans trying to match and actually doing a more decent job than I was expecting. But T1 fans kind of ruling this building right now.
Yeah, they do that pretty consistently, Atlas.
Yeah. When the planet is your home ground, it's just a difficult thing to match. But KT, they're going to do their best. And of course, KT fans know that when the opposite side has louder fans, it's way better for KT. Because that drowns out the sadness in the back of every KT fan's mind. As Doran on the Lumberjack Scion this time around. Big fan.
Maybe looking for a cheese play. Scion is one of those champions that uniquely gets to have an extended impact level 1, thanks to both how good his Q is, but also his passive. And this is a very deliberate level 1 strategy. We'll see if they fall for it. Because for Perfect, trying to face check any of the brushes early on, you can't really do, right? Because you're playing into Scion, so you need to be very respectful. So it might take a while for them to actually figure out that this Scion is missing.
Well, there's the knock-up from Doran immediately. Doctom trying to get out of there, but Peter, he is just dead. Kerry going to take the long way around as Doctom throws some sticks into him, but that is the value already. And this, it's a tale as old as time. We've seen this Scion play for so many years, but it really, people haven't brought it out all that often until now.
And because of the experience that with the TP Doran got, he's barely behind. He'll be behind a little bit, but he's not going to be bothered. The kill also went over to Elise, and if there was one support where you're fine with getting an early kill, it's definitely the Elise. And Peter, him dying, it's rough. It's good for T1, but it's not the end of the road. But Doctom not having sums, that's a big deal.
Man, this is...
I
couldn't believe that he even got Doctom there as he was right on the edge. That Q, man, the hitbox, it's kind of Nautilus-esque. As BDD just saying it's okay. It's a bit of an accident. We're going to be okay.
As you would expect from the leader of the team.
Yeah, if you slip on some cheese, it's okay, you know? Just get back up, back on the horse.
It's not what cheese is for, but it happens to everyone.
Yeah.
You know, you made a nice cheese plate, and there's a straight piece of cheese on the floor.
Yeah, and there's always more cheese on the plate. It's fine. You don't need to worry about it. And that's what KT are going to attempt, but it's a good start so far for T1, especially in this lane where things can be difficult. As of course, Nico Kalista, we haven't really spoken about it too much, but we've seen this combination used many, many times. It of course really helps when Nico wants to go for psycho engages.
Oh yeah.
Because you always have that added safety, but it's also very strong in the lane. And we're seeing here that they do have a little bit of shove. Shape Splitter coming on through there. As Perfect playing out this top lane relatively well thus far, as you can see, about half a wave in advantage. And Cuz just going to be farming things out. Same thing can be said for Owner, who's looking for his first reset. So outside of that little kerfuffle in the bottom lane, not too much more to report. And I expect that that is going to continue. We might need some lull state content for this game, because I imagine both teams are pretty comfortable just scaling up.
Cuz is back on an award is being shown here, so they have a really, really good idea of what his pathing is going to be like for like the next 2 minutes, unless he changes it up.
Oh dear, Doctom could be in a little bit of trouble here, as Kumiushi with the Gatling gun, but does take a fair bit of damage from that Rend as Doctom makes his way out. A little bit aggressive as Owner moves in just to help shove out this wave. Doran with 0 blue stuff, and so not going to be too much to worry about.
Yeah, and Owner obviously knows there's no risk of a counter gank, not only because well, Cuz is Wukong pre-6, but also because they spotted him on the back, and he needs to clear his camps. So a little opportunity there to make the lane a little bit easier for Doran, who hasn't decided to actually back yet, but he's Scion, right? And the Ornn this early on, not really going to be a big threat. And neither is the Wukong. If it's the Jarvan, then you definitely need to play more respectful, but not the case here. We do see, though, BDD looking for a possible roam. Does get spotted, but they are quite low. Guma has his sums, but I think they can look to dive here.
I mean, he's just walking in. The Rune Prison is going to be so powerful. His flashes come out everywhere, and there is another kill onto Doctom to start this one off. A 1-for-1, but T1 will 100% take that. Both summoners do come out of the Corki, but still, that is a great trade as T1 stands strong in the bottom lane.
They did get Guma sums, though, so that is a big win for KT. Opportunity to later on, either with throwing Peter in, or Cuz once he gets a Cyclone, as Cuz also cut the mid wave and now tried to put it in as best a position for BDD. BDD obviously will be missing a little bit as Faker is going to shove it out, but so we take another look here. There's not that much of a wave, so KT kind of need to go. Guma flashes, ensures that he doesn't get hit, and the immediate burst from both the Corki and the Electrocute Elise is more than enough. If Dogdom had his sums, maybe he lives there, but thanks to the earlier level 1 from Doran, not going to be the case.
Yeah, it was an optimistic dive, just with the low health bar of the Kalista, but the fact that they do manage to at least get a kill in trade is kind of all right. You can see it's still 350 in the lead for Gumayusi though on this Corki, moving closer and closer to that Trinity Force. 2-item spikes are what we're going to be talking about for both of these 80 carries. So we'll see who's going to be able to get there in time as Carrier making his way out, and that Control Ward not going to see the Elise, who does poke her head out now. There is the CC eaten, but Perfect taking so much damage here underneath the turret. And Carrier off to the side. Here's the on-horn though, is Perfect looking for the angle. He'll get it, but the Ignite's still ticking down. Owner is making his way in though, and I don't know what Perfect's going to be able to quite do here.
He's healing up slowly. BDD so far away.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to be able to do, and if that was any other support, maybe he'd be okay, but it's an Elise, and so she just executes it.
And on the other end, it's a Sion, so diving in is a tough ask for KT. Not going to be able to do so. T1 really getting the most value out of this Elise. Carrier has been involved with every single kill, and as you're saying, that play, that dive in the stages, in the double or multiple stages rather, that can't really happen with a lot of other supports. It's the ability to drop the turret aggro, and even though Perfect, I think, nice attempt to try and clear the wave, especially with Xin in the area as well, I just don't think that you ever live there.
Nope. And so it's now about 1,000 gold in the lead here for T1. The early game working out very, very nicely. As Doran, he can drive a train towards that bottom lane if he would like to, but doesn't really need to. And the tank battle continues. One of the closest matchups that we have right now is both junglers as well, looking very, very even. And mid lane, haven't really seen too much outside of BDD getting that roam happening. Checking in on Faker, he's behind by a little bit of farm. That is no worries. And of course, right now, I think the Rise is probably BDD's best pick. He has looked absolutely amazing. I think only losing one game thus far.
It's, you know,
like 8-1
you can't get to Leah, but you still want to carry and have a side lane impact. Because BDD's never getting to Leah, let's be realistic.
No, not this series.
No, I don't know in any any series anytime soon. But a champion being the way it is perfect. Looking for when we've seen him do this, I do see some pinks going down, so I think T1 had a suspicion. Yeah. And instead, and this is where I do think the strength of KT's comp really shines is in 5v5s. Skirmishes, I think T1 kind of have them beat. There's so much burst available. But in longer fights, as even with the proxy, Doran's going to TP in.
Yeah, KT do manage to get 2 of these grubs though, as Cocoon going to connect. And it is onto Peter, actually. I think that was the real Peter. As they do secure the one singular grub.
I don't know if that's worth TPing for.
Oh dear, Doran is in an awkward spot.
That's a TP for a single grub. I think, obviously, Doran still gets ahead because he proxied, but more so the value of the TP as a summoner. I am a little worried, though, with Perfect giving up so many of these waves, because one of the things we always look at with Ornn is you need to hit your experience spikes as soon as possible. So much of his power budget is tied up in the ability to give out free gold, and those goodies don't come until level 13, and really, you're looking at like level 15 that I think you're really starting to feel the impact when you've handed out 2 to your teammates. So this is okay, but want to make sure you don't drop too many waves. But for T1, I think they need to keep playing proactively, because we get to a game state where we are trying to just 5v5 for these objectives. Like Elise into both an Ornn, who can negate your stun, and 2 clones on the enemy team. It's hard to find a lot of consistent value.
Yeah, the Cocoon angles are a little bit more difficult to gather. And Doran just going to be demolishing another plate here towards the top side, eating some petals there as well. Get a few extra stats, that feels pretty nice. As Perfect making his way back up towards this top side and will be able to catch this wave, but Doran has just really had so much better control of the wave here up against Perfect. Perfect sacrificing a fair bit, as we can see here. He's paying the price for it, about 14 CS in the lead here for the Sion, who is able to farm in between the turrets and then in between the turrets again. As, yeah, we all know who's responsible for this just happening all over the world. As VODs going to be taking the Rod of Ages, picks that one up. Decent clip on that as he is approaching a 600 gold lead, the largest lead here on his team. The largest lead on the Rift, though, is still Carrier.
I noticed joke has been made a lot, but, you know, Doran hasn't died yet, so...
Is he not doing it correctly?
I would say so, no.
Yeah.
You could have grabbed that extra wave. Yeah, maybe because kills you, doesn't matter. I mean, he finishes his Hollow Radiance. I'm mostly memeing. Obviously, T1 applying a good amount of pressure here. And it's a necessity. I still think T1, the composition, can teamfight well, right? Like with Victor, Cyan, and Xin Zhao as a core. You can't really ever be counted out. You can create so much space. You have an insane amount of damage when you get to the later team fights, particularly a Faker. Even though he did go for Grasp, I hope he's going to go to a more damage-focused build to try and cut down all these beefy targets, because the entire top side of KT is going to be swimming in either just resistances from the Ornn, but both Cuz and BDD will have so much health as well.
Yeah. No, it's going to be absolutely obscene. You can see it's the double mask build. We've seen this crop up many times. Faker putting a couple of them together. The Leandres is a guarantee, though, and that is going to be an important item as Peter over the wall here. Wind becomes lightning, but Peter not going to quite find the angle just yet. With Kalista in the vicinity, he does have a lot of safety.
Doran looking for an ult, maybe.
Yeah, a few buttons on cooldown here for Faker, but he's able to step his way out. You can see Doran moves back towards that top lane as pings come on through. Teleport available for Perfect, not up there for Doran, and this is what you were talking about before.
There's the ult, though, for Doran, so if Perfect does TP, there is an option, but also neither of them can TP when the other is there.
Yeah, there is a bit of CC that can stop them from being able to do that. As Perfect going down lower and lower, he might need to look for a back. As okay, Roar of the Slayer comes on through, but I think the Ornn is going to be okay. KT looking for Dragon number 2 here, as it's going down lower and lower. Remember, it's Smite and Rend, so that is going to be a guarantee. Enough sticks in there to lock that one down.
That's hack stack.
Oh my god, okay. We are starting off pretty strong here. I was a little bit worried because it was, what, Cloud and the Ocean. It could have been a Chemtech as, all right, Doran, tanking up the turret because he can. But Faker is coming on over, and Perfect could be in trouble yet again. Doesn't manage to get the Bellows Breath off quite in time, as Doran slowed down for quite some time there and does have to flash, as there's the knock-up onto Ona, and he'll go down! The follow-up is now here as BDD looking to hold Faker in position. He does so as Cuz is going down lower and lower. BDD still trying to kite as best he can, and there is Doran zoning him out with that Q. And the Rise is not going to catch up. 1-for-1 there towards the top side. Has more fighting here in the bottom lane. Could just be a plate going over to Dr. and Peter, and that is going to be the result.
Reinforcements arrive, but just a second too late there for Perfect. And if this is a 2-item Azir, that might have been a very dicey situation for T1. But Cuz doesn't have his Triforce yet. BDD is only sitting on an unstacked Rod, so just don't have that much to really make it work. Still Perfect, plays this as well as you can expect. Already gets a ton of damage down on Doran, who again knows a lot of reinforcements are coming. And then here, the damage isn't actually enough to take him down, but it's again, the arrival of Owner ends up setting up very nicely. And he does end up going down, as mentioned. The investment for KT, I think, isn't going to be feeling too bad. It really is just that ultimate from BDD, and Cuz, I think, holds on to his Cyclone, but that's a good call. Because you want to keep that for a team fight, and with the health bar that he had and no Triforce, I don't think the play would have worked out otherwise. Yeah,
if they went in and tried to fight that 2v2, I think it would have been very, very difficult. So good for KT just to hold off. Gold lead not going to be changing too much, though, as we can see. Still just north of that 1,000 gold lead for T1. We do, as you've been mentioning throughout this game, we're looking for T1 to break this game open, right? Towards the mid-game, really starting to get that snowball rolling. It's what Elise compositions generally want to do, because of course she gets less and less valuable as the game goes on. As like ships in the night, Carrier is going to walk past the fake Peter.
And for me, when you look at Kalista comp specifically, and Rise, really, both of them, Rise obviously is known to skill insanely well, but I do think Kalista is, oh, that's the cleanse.
Yeah, getting that one out.
Well, they don't have cleanse, it's a little worse. Sorry about that, Doctor. But
yeah.
Kalista, when she has a front line and she has targets to stack off of, I actually do think that she skills a lot better than she used to, as we are going to get, I think, our first honest-to-God 5v5 T1, need to be careful. Don't group up too much. There is so many circles here, Atlas.
Yep, and there is Faker moving down from this top lane.
There's the
Does
TP.
deal with the minion wave, and there's the teleport in. Like you say, perfect. Does have that ram available. That's going to need to get the value. Let's see whether Cuz can win this 50-50 as he gets in. The train going to completely miss here as another one comes through and gets a double knock-up. Owner in the sky forever. Cuz gets the Peter down, and oh my god, Peter with the pop blossom. BDD off to the side, though, unable to find the value in T1. Still standing up, but they've lost one extra in the fight. And I don't think they want this 3 versus 4.
And KT, gonna be happy with that. They are the ones that pick themselves up a favorable trade. Additionally, they get the Herald. And there is the zone control, the 5v5 power we're talking about, because both Peter, just by existing and walking in and out of range, has so much Fred. It's Faker and BDD.
It's a little bit dangerous. The gravity field not doing anything at all here as BDD walking towards that brush. There's a lot of spell flux being built up here, but Faker is able to walk it up the flash forward, and he's able to get the flash out of the Victor. That could be relevant later on in the story.
Both of these immobile mages now no longer having flash available, Atlas.
Yeah, only one of them has phase rush though, which kind of feels like flash sometimes.
It really does, and BDD gonna be feeling good about that one. Not being able to get the kill is a bummer, but I think if you know Faker has his flash there, you know he's just gonna flash out of it.
Yep.
But
that was a conscious decision.
It was, for sure. And BDD, again, doesn't even have a second item yet. As we take another look here, the choke control of KT is such a big issue as Doran tries to play for Dokdom there, but Dokdom is able to just get over the wall. Now Peter is delayed a little bit by the Q, but look at Guma. He doesn't actually get to do that much in this fight because on one hand, BDD was threatening, and then on the other hand, there is just a Wukong that you don't want to get near, an Ornn that you need to respect. So, KT bringing back the lead to a very, very small amount of gold, and we just see Herald go down. Was used in mid lane. And that does mean that now the mid lane is open, and we're going straight into a possible soul point fight, Atlas.
Yeah, this is insane as well, because that 2-item spike for the Rise has just come in. The Archangels was built off that last reset, and T1, they do have control of the area. You have to imagine that KT are feeling pretty good about fighting for this one.
Oh, they're going to.
Yep, control going to be taken down as Cuz face checks. Does have Warrior Trickster, but doesn't have half of his health bar now. This is dangerous. BDD moving in, perfect on a flank angle, but not quite here in time. As they do manage to get the slowdown, the ram. Perfect with the sick play. As the Dragon is now forgotten. Perfect trying to get out of there. The Pop Blossom somewhat interrupted his owner. Going down so low, but gets the drive-by smite to deny the soul point. Still, these health bars are so extraordinarily low, and Cuz is just spinning around in the Dragon Pit for some reason. He flashes to get himself out of the way, and KT, they find one pick, they lose no one, but the Dragon goes to T1, and it's so important.
This is what I want in my Telecom war.
Oh my goodness, if this is a sign of things to come, we're gonna need some more bottles of water up here.
It's mayhem, Atlas, as, okay, perfect. We're not gonna talk about the W, but that play right there, that was sick. Stylish as hell. The W doesn't actually cancel the CC. That Pop Blossom from Peter ends up being big because it takes Owner very low, and Faker, I think, was looking to follow up more aggressively. Did get clipped by the side of that. And a lot of sums were used, but these team fights, as I think we would expect, are going towards KT. And if KT starts getting these Ornn items, this isn't getting better, because for Guma, actually doing damage in these fights, I think is going to remain very tough. Because if he gets near anyone, he's going to get blown up. But there isn't nearly as much AoE CC as there is for KT, right? Kalista can hop around the fights, and then on a Pop Blossom you can go in. On an Ornald you can go in. On the Wukong, Cyclones, that's 2 opportunities as well. And Faker, he's been doing fine when it comes to staying alive, but only sitting at 1.5 item. And again, like I think Victor scales well, but there is still a Rise on the enemy team, and Rise's biggest weakness, which is his lack of range, doesn't matter when you have 3 incredible hard engaged champions.
Yep, not to mention there is not necessarily the most massive amount of range coming out of T1, just in general. Of course, Doran is very good at controlling space on this Scion. I think his role is going to be pivotal later into the game. But BDD, we talk about the Rise scaling. I want to talk about the BDD scaling, man. This guy has just been getting better and better. Of course, started off pretty good on KT earlier on in the season, but as his teammates get better, so is he. And BDD is looking to continue that form here today.
And I think they want to force a fight. And I'm with them. 5v5 is really what you're looking for. We saw earlier when the game was going T1's way, when they were the ones in control, it's when they're forcing on side lane, right? When they're going for the burst, when they're diving enemy champions, not giving KT really an opportunity to respond. If you're trying to fight your way for these choke points...
There's the run walk forward as BDD. He puts the spider up into the sky. Gumayushi has to Valkyrie to get himself out of the way as Peter may have overstepped as the Fate's Call needs to be invested. And the train comes on through. The block from Peter. I don't even know whether he needed to do that. It was the clone anyway. They take down Doran. The train is going to set up the onto everyone as KT look to put T1 in the ground. The Arcane Storm doing a fair bit of work there though. And once again, the trade is not actually that bad here for T1 as the 2 damage dealers still left alive. Not with any frontline though. They do have to be a bit careful as Doctum throwing sticks around, and that is going to be perfect, going for a bit of a reset. Once you get that health bar up high enough, has a minute and a half left on the Drake. That fight, not actually for all that much.
And when all is said and done, when the dust settles, doesn't look like either team got a decisive lead off it as we take a look. So it starts off KT again with the confidence, the Realm Warp from BDD, getting a flash out of Carrier. And then KT, for a minute, it looks like they've overstepped, right? There's a collapse attempt as we do see the Otacon being threatened, but that block...
That shape splitter from Peter,
right
man.
there. But Guma is safe in most of this, right? Both Guma and Faker don't actually get threatened. Peter hits them, but there's no follow-up, and it looks like I spoke too soon. KT did, because of the man advantage they had, maintain tempo with the Hex Gates. Getting Cuz there was only a matter of seconds. And now Otacon going the way of KT.
Yep, that's a big one. A bunch of extra experience as well. BDD is level 16, ladies and gentlemen. That's Rod of Ages and Otacon, and that means he has a 2-level advantage over Faker. He can be Realm Warping as often as he would like in this game, but it's only spelled a 1,000 gold lead. And by that, I mean 400 gold lead, as the turret gold hadn't quite come in yet. It is still exceptionally close between these two teams. And a lot more does have to be put together, especially with the fact that there was no soul point picked up by KT. That would have been a very real win condition with that soul being the Hex tech. And T1, the opportunity to stack up 4 of those is very, very scary if this game does go very, very late.
All right, we need a Perfect to actually give out his second Ornn upgrade. Hasn't done it yet. That is big if they want to fight for this. BDD does have TP, so I would be shocked if they don't. And there it is, giving the upgrade. I'm pretty sure over the Dockdown, there's it. But they're too late on the Dragon.
Yeah, Blade of the Ruined King does come in, but yeah, this Dragon should be taken because of Cycloning. Never mind, it's going to be a 50-50. Let's see who's going to be able to take it down. It's Ona that locks it up as Doran will sacrifice himself because so exceptionally low. And somehow the Scion is still alive. BDD right in amongst it. He is going to have to be the one-man army though as T1 are running them over. And BDD cannot do it alone. KT just kind of throw it away in the river.
The owner insect breaking up the entire fight, and KT tried to do too much. We had Cuz trying to look for the steal, a fight happening on the other end, and it broke up that core unit, and T1 made great use of it. As there is no Baron up, but it's still obviously a big gold influx, and the Dragon ends up going over, and this is what I'm talking about. Even though Guma gets hit, it doesn't matter that much. And then watch this from Owner. Completely breaks up the fight, cancels Peter's impact on the backline. Faker comes in with the flank, and Owner, man, getting the smite and winning the team fight back to back. But the tragedy for T1, that was a crazy win. They got the Dragon, the gold lead is back in their favor, but there was no follow-up objective outside of the turrets.
Yeah, they do manage to take this inner in the mid lane. That is certainly a big deal. We can see this gold difference over time. We've seen graphs like this before, but that number is not very high whatsoever. No one has broken this game open just yet. But T1, if fights keep going like that, and if Owner is indeed this locked in for the rest of this day, then it could be worrying times for the roller coaster riders. Let's just say that. Because we know that when Owner is on, T1, they just win everything.
It's also
kind of how it goes.
Faker, as mentioned, has a lot of effective range, is now sitting on 2 items, has a 10 stacks Magi's, by the way.
Oh my goodness.
That might turn into a
ready.
book.
He has that ready. He hasn't quite booked it just
Oh, sorry,
yet.
yeah, Darksteel. Hopefully, maybe wishful thinking on my end, is going to turn that into a Magi's.
He has done it in the past. He's not often a Forbidden Book enjoyer. Likes to just get the guaranteed stats, but maybe today is going to be the day. As even on Dragons now, 2.5 minutes on that next one. The Baron up and available though. So every one team fight is going to mean so much more. That upgraded Blade of the Ruined King has come through from Perfect, wanting to hit that level 15 so we can give BDD a better Rod of Ages, better Seraphs, a better Void Staff perhaps. We'll see exactly what the upgrade is going to be heading towards. And Doran just smashing some things here towards this bottom side, as the Scion is wont to do. He has about a 1.2k gold advantage at this point in time. And the gold lead is still kind of there for PDD, but outside of that, T1 just kind of getting more across the rift. GA almost done here for Owner as well, who is looking very scary on his very famous now Xin Zhao. Certainly the best in the league. And remember, guys, this is game 1 of a best of 5.
Oh my god, Atlas. Okay.
And the same thing kind of happened yesterday as well, as the intensity of the first game. What was it, like neck and neck at 44 minutes?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Canyon walked up to an inhibitor
again.
that he shouldn't have, and then obviously...
Yeah, and then Chovy died. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they won the series in reverse sweep. So maybe that's what we need.
Wow, spoilers much. We're joking. Perfect, has it level 15, so should be giving over an upgrade soon. Oh, Peter.
Yeah, looking for an angle. There's the Pop Blossom. Collects onto 1 as Faker goes gold, and the knockup is avoided there as well as Owner. He's going to be the target. They take him down, and now they're looking for a bit of a reset. Warrior Trickster there to try and get Cuz out of the way. Another fantastic Shape Splitter as BDD is interrupted. The Baron helps out as the Rocket takes down the Scion. Wait, it takes down the Rise, but the Scion is also going to be dead. So, a 1 for 2 in favor of KT, but losing BDD is such a big deal.
Spider's hunting.
Yeah, carrier, but there are little Krugs in the way, and that is going to block the Cocoon.
It's also Wukong. It's like, as far as Cocoon targets go, not the best, as Faker does stay alive. The timing from Perfect, not quite perfect there. As we take a look, Peter sets this up. But it's a turn onto Cuz, but again, because Owner is the focus, look at how much damage Guma and Faker do, right?
Yeah.
So Peter is super low, and so is BDD gets cancelled there, otherwise might have made it out. Guma hits the Rocket, but Dokdom, Terminus just finished before this fight, has an incredible amount of damage. I think even if they get like 1 more kill, because, who was it? I think Peter was really low, wouldn't have been enough because Cuz was dead. Or rather, Owner was dead. Cuz was still alive, and this game is basically even, especially with the Ornn upgrades, right? We're talking in terms of gold.
Yeah.
KT's right there.
I mean, they have technically an advantage.
We are just going to go to another 5v5, and again, the scaling conversation, especially with how these fights are playing out, I think it just comes down to, can you get, for KT, can you get onto Faker, can you get onto Guma? Faker was building towards his Void Staff, does have the Blighted Jewel, because he was sitting on his Arm Guard. I think now he might finish the Arm Guard instead, as is this just going to go?
Yeah, this is just a Dragon being taken by KT. T1 not really in position. They're looking to try and trade for the Baron, but I don't think they're quite here in time. And you can see, yeah, Peter is just in position. Okay, this would be absurd, but it's just going to be because he has Smite. He's able to take that one out.
If that was a Cho'Gath, that would have been way more tense.
Yeah, that might have even been a conversation. But instead, it's just kind of an unceremonious Dragon take here for KT.
That's Soul Point.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it's because Faker doesn't have Stopwatch and Flash. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. Because normally I think Nico is really gated by not having Flash available and only having access to the Rocket Belt. But
you've got
there's a Callista. So
yeah.
It really, really makes the effective range so much bigger than it otherwise would be. And for T1, once Faker gets Stopwatch and it's flashed back up again, the damage he's been doing in these fights, same with Guma, if they don't get targeted, is huge. That's
okay, Dokdom! He's thrown
Carrier's dead.
so many sticks in here, and yeah, Carrier's going to break his stopwatch, but that only buys a couple of seconds, and he was just caught napping.
This is not the same Duck Dom that we saw in the beginning of LCK, Atlas.
He is seeing the angles now.
It's challengers, baby!
Yeah, something's happened, you know. It's like he's stopping the bullets in that hallway.
That's just Nash.
Yeah, that should just be. As they do see it, Owner is going to be over here, but you can see the Goon Squad to stop him from coming in. And my God, that Baron did not last very long. Oh my God, kind of anticlimactic, not gonna lie to you. The Baron just going over, the Dragon just going over, and KT just kind of saying, I want to take this, and T1 are like, okay.
Okay, yeah, I'm a little disappointed. This was a lot of build-up.
Yeah.
And then they just get Soul Point and Drake for free. Or sorry, Baron for free. I don't love it, but it is earned as it feels like a bit of a disconnect as well there, but it's the Realm Warp that I think ensures that T1's like, we can't help you. Like, there's just no shot. We can't do anything to back you up, Air Carrier. And with Kalista in particular, as soon as she gets that first spear, you are just kind of cooked. Duck Dom Terminus already done a while back, looking towards the Jack shows.
Finished? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this is going to be a really big spike. And
level 16 for Perfect as well, so everyone is going to be able to have that cool stuff. Even we've got a like a pumped up rocket belt here for Peter already completed. It's only BDD that's missing his because I think he would like to get a very cool hat, which is going to be done pretty soon.
But fortunately for T1, there is always the win condition of win conditions because Owner smites this game have been crazy.
Yeah.
Just flip Elder.
Yep, that one's always a possibility. That does mean that before that, you have to give away a Hextech Soul.
Yeah, I don't love it as a strategy, but that's where we're getting towards. This Baron push, it's going to be strong. KT is very short range though, so their siege isn't necessarily the best. BDD should be able to get the turrets, but if T1 can deny them any shot at taking down Inhibs, then this 1.5 Baron minute Rebel Baron power play that's left isn't going to lead that cleanly into the Drake.
This turret does take a lot of damage from BDD.
But it's just, if it's just like the mid turrets and the inner, I think you take that.
Yeah. Well, Q not going to quite find Peter here as okay. They've managed to lock down the on. Perfect gets himself out of there though. Health bar now in tatters, but still. T1, they lose their turret. They do not lose any of their base structures, which is the most important thing, and the gold lead has not actually changed whatsoever, nor does it really matter at this point in time. We are getting so late into this game.
Well, we don't care. Gold's a fix. Gold's a state of mind, Atlas.
Yeah, it is.
I want to highlight what we're looking into. Sums are available basically across the board. Looking at the stopwatches.
has cool hat.
Carrier obviously doesn't have his. He just bought an arm guard. Sold it now. Looking to go towards Frozen Heart, as is Peter. A lot of value there on either side. We did see Faker indeed go for that Zhonya, so not finishing the Void stuff is actually a big deal. There's so much MR on the enemy team, and there is the hat.
Yeah.
And there's no vision control for T1, right? They don't really have control of their own jungle. And in the minute this Drake is spawning, so I think AT is going to keep the prio high, keep on pushing here, and ensure that T1 can't retake. So they need to get into the jungle of T1 right now to set up as high risk of a play as possible. Because T1, if they need to walk blind into the jungle, into these choke points against the KT, that's not something that you really want to deal with.
Yep, the Magi's has now been completed here for Faker. So that is dangerous. The guy has not died this game, though. I am pretty sure. So it's optimistic, but you can understand why he's going for it. Gold's still incredibly, incredibly close.
Oh, Atlas, another 5v5. There's the upgraded hat!
Oh my goodness, he is such a wizard now.
It's the next in fashion.
Yeah.
BDD bringing it out here.
Okay, but KT have so much control of this area. Remember, choke points. Wukong loves it, the Ornn loves it, and the Nico especially likes it. They don't like this though, as a Cocoon does go down, Cuz getting on into the pit here, and it's just gone. That's going to be Hextech Soul as the Ram comes in, triple knock-up, as now they're just going to be backing away. Faker in a decent position, his owner going forward, tries to find it once again, but he gets knocked up. The Cyclone onto everyone, the Pop Blossom as well. His gorgeous follow-up, as a flash out from BDD, he's trying to keep himself alive. His Doc Dom is now untouched. Hopping around the fight, Gumayushi not going to get rendered down this time. However, KT have found the angle and Guma doesn't have the option. The train leader will be taken down, but KT, they have 4 left, and they're looking to knock down the Nexus here in game number 1.
That was almost 10k damage from both AD carries, Atlas!
That was insane, and I thought when Gumayusi was left alive with just a sliver, maybe there'd be a chance, but unfortunately, the rest of T1 just got wiped out.
And KT on red side.
Oh,
The
Doctor.
5v5 comp.
He is feeling himself here today, and that should be a scary sign for T1 fans as KT stay undefeated in their road to MSI here in game number 1. That is 7-0, baby.